Dad, we're a history teacher, not a Jedi, and it's time for assembly.
Sure, it's not time for assembly already. Oh my goodness. Oh, hi everyone. Sorry, late again. Hope you've had a good Easter. Just give me a minute. That's a bit embarrassing. Did anyone else watch Star Wars over Easter? I think I've watched all the films on loop. Just give me a second. I'll just get reset, and we'll start assembly this morning. Well, welcome back. The summer term, we've made it. I hope you've all had a really great break and have rested and enjoyed yourselves. Had a fabulous time with your families and eaten lots of Easter eggs. I hope I've certainly eaten my own body weight in Easter eggs over the break. We're so excited to be back at school, ready for all the challenges that virtual learning is going to provide for us. Lots of incredible opportunities, lots of chance to have fun online with your teachers, to reach out and speak to your friends, and to really have a good time this week in school. You'll be hearing from me every week in an assembly, and I hope I'll see lots of you joining in our daily PE session at 9 o'clock every day with the PE department. We'll be keeping fit together as a school, and I really hope to see you there. Now, I was thinking in Raymond Towers about what I might want to talk about in an assembly this morning. And I think the thing that struck me first and most strongly is that this week is the anniversary of the foundation of our school back in 1931, the 89th anniversary of the foundation of Cranford House. And that seemed an appropriate topic. And we could have our Founders' Day assembly virtually, not in person, but it seemed an important thing for us to focus on, to commemorate and to celebrate together today. So if you give me a second, I'll share my screen with you, and I want to just tell you a couple of things about the history of Cranford House that seem quite relevant to our situation today. So here's our slideshow from the beginning. There's our founder. For anyone that hasn't met her before, there's Miss Lawrence on the left. You can see her outside Maltford House, looking very cheerful and very jolly. And that's a little bit who I want to talk to you about today. But before we come to Miss Lawrence, I want to start with this young man here. For anyone, again, who hasn't met him or can't remember, this is Billy Higgs. He was our first pupil at the school back in 1931. Here he is at the age of 6, looking like he's having really rather a good time there. If I come to this next picture, this is him just a few years later with his first classmates. Again, they look like they're having a really fantastic time, don't they? And reminds me in no small measure of lots of you around the school today. And as we talked about in our Founders' Day at this time last year, Billy went on to serve in the RAF. He served in 405 Vancouver Squadron in the Royal Canadian Air Force. They were a Pathfinder Squadron, and he was a tail gunner and serving in the RAF. An incredibly brave and wonderful job that he did as well. And that's actually a Lancaster. Again, you may remember that from last year's assembly. That's a Lancaster from 405 Squadron. It might have been Billy's, it might not, but it was certainly from his squadron. So it gives you some idea of what our first pupil did during the Second World War. A really remarkable young man. But what I wanted to talk to you about today were the school values, really, and the values that were set in stone by Miss Lawrence all those years back in 1931 when she founded the school. And this quote is a quote from a foreword that Miss Lawrence wrote to a new history of Cranford House right the way back in 1981. So I would have been 2 then. And Miss Lawrence said, behind the history of Cranford House lies an intangible atmosphere based on a deep concern for people and the belief that everyone has a contribution to make to the world they live in. And I'm just going to read that last sentence again, the belief that everyone has a contribution to make to the world they live in. Those words ring true through our school values. They're the founding principles upon which our school is based. And those values seem more important now than they've ever done before. We can all make a difference, each and every single one of us. On a personal level, we can continue to develop new skills, new knowledge, new understanding, and to build our character and our personality during these interesting and exciting period at home with our families. Through our learning platform, there'll be chances to develop your knowledge and understanding of your subjects, to learn new things together, and to have fun with your friends online. It's a chance to try new instruments, to get fit, to read lots of stories, to read lots of books, and to really challenge yourself in a new and interesting way. On a family level, we can make a difference to our families. Each and every one of us has a responsibility to demonstrate that generosity of spirit that I see from you in school, at home, with your families every day. That could be as simple as making your mum and dad a cup of tea in the morning, keeping your bedroom tidy, helping tidy the house, getting on and engaging with that work positively and independently. They're all things that we can think about doing. And then beyond our homes, even in this period of lockdown, we can continue to be a school community. And I'm looking forward to seeing how you all interact and engage with each other in your class teams and in those whole school pupil teams. There's going to be lots of wonderful challenges set by the PE teachers, by the fabulous Mrs. Powell in the music department, by our art department, for you to get involved with and to interact with each other in school. So it's important to continue to be a part of the school community. And finally, to think back to that challenge that I set for you just before Easter in my last assembly of one daily random act of kindness. Can you practice one random act of kindness every day for the next 3 weeks? I'm sure that each and every one of you can. And we keep in mind those words from our founders. So as we come into this term, there will be challenges, but it's all important in my mind how we tackle challenges that we come up against. So instead of saying, I'm not good at this, we're going to try saying, what am I missing? Instead of saying this work is too hard, we're going to try saying that this is going to take time and effort. Instead of saying, I've got this wrong, oh no, we're going to say mistakes help me to learn better. And instead of saying this work isn't good enough, we're going to think about how can I improve it. But more important than that, we're going to think about our school values. Our most important school value, generosity of spirit. And I'm going to finish assembly this morning with this quote and a short reading. So a single act of kindness throws out roots in all directions, and the roots spring up and make new trees. I really love that quote from Amelia Earhart. It's a really fabulous quote, and I think it can encourage each of us to practice those random acts of kindness together this term as we think back to our founder in our Founders Day service, celebrating 89 years of Cranford House. Now, if I unshare my screen really briefly, is that a phrase? I'm not sure that it is. It's really wonderful to see you. It's wonderful to be back together. Now, it's also quite unusual for a Founders Day service. We normally have lots and lots of fabulous, fabulous music. So what I would like to encourage you all to do over the course of this next couple of weeks, if you'd like to have your music used in an assembly, I'd like to hear clips of you playing. So if you would be happy to, you can send some videos in. I'll pop a post in the music channel on the junior and the senior school teams, and it'd be lovely to have some individual instrumentalists or singers doing some performances that we could share in assembly when we meet once a week like this. It's really wonderful to see you all. I hope you're all well, and I'm going to finish finally with a very, very short reading. So forgive me reading this, I'm just going to lean forward. One night I dreamed I was walking along the beach with the Lord. Many scenes from my life flashed across the sky. In each scene, I noticed footprints in the sand. Sometimes there were two sets of footprints. Other times, there was one only. This bothered me because I noticed that during the low periods of my life, when I was suffering from anguish, sorrow, or defeat, I could only see one set of footprints. So I said to the Lord, you promised me, Lord, that if I followed you, you would walk with me always. But I have noticed that during the most trying periods of my life, there's only been one set of footprints in the sand. Why, when I needed you most, have you not been there for me? The Lord replied, the years when you have seen only one set of footprints, my child, is when I carried you. I really love that reading. I have it up in my kitchen at home, and I think there's something in there for all of us in this unusual start to the summer term. Keep well, keep smiling, and I look forward to seeing you all back online in the very near future. Cheerio, everyone. Take care.